I'm Brian Philp, and I direct the Kent Archaeological Rescue Unit, and we've carried out over 700 projects in Kent over the last 40 years, and these have produced many interesting finds. And in fact, I was going through the storeroom the other day and I came across two objects which are of exceptional interest. The first one is this large piece of red pottery. It's called samian ware, or more correctly terra sigillata, and this came out very early on in our excavations at Reculver, large Roman fort there on the Kent coast, north of Canterbury, where the sea was pounding down the cliffs and exposing Roman foundations, pits and gullies, and scattering coins and pottery, which we recovered and then began to excavate ahead of any more damage. This very fine vessel, highly decorated vessel, came out of a deposit on the face of the cliff where we were working, and it came out in two sections. This piece was found 1 year, and the next piece was found 10 years later, and the two pieces join up. We're delighted. It shows part of a bowl, shallow bowl, very nicely manufactured, formed in a mould with the decoration on it, and it's a curving vine running right the way around with little leaves of different shapes and sizes here, little circles dotting in the intersections there, complete design all the way around, and the top is marked by an avolo decoration, and then the rim would be about here. So that's a very fine vessel. Not only that, we know who made it. The man that made this was called Kinamus, and he had a factory producing thousands upon thousands of these vessels in central France, what is now France, then of course Gaul, where there was a huge industry, and this pottery was exported from there right across the Roman world and beyond. So at some time a ship carrying a lot of these decorated vessels from Kinamus must have been sailing up the Channel and up the Thames and stopped at the Fort of Reculver and offloaded some of these vessels which we found. And that dates from the end of the 2nd century. Very nice vessel, rather special object. There's another object here. It's not from our excavations, but this was found in a gravel pit near Swanscombe by Gravesend, probably 100 years ago, when the workmen were digging gravel to a great depth, and they found several thousand objects like this in that gravel. And what it is a very fine flint hand axe, which was operated like this with the sharp point now missing, beautifully sculpted, as you can see, from an original raw flint, and it's become stained through being buried in the ground. Now this is not Roman, of course. This is going to be from the Paleolithic period, which is in this case probably 100,000 years ago, when someone was creating an industry somewhere high up in the North Downs, producing thousands and thousands of these hand axes. Remember, there was no metal then, it's a stone industry, and it must have covered quite a large area. They quarried the flint from the riverbeds, worked it like this with all the flake scars on there, worked it to a point, nice grip at the end, and that's a hand axe that could be used for a whole range of purposes, skinning animals, breaking bones, making joints of meat, cutting trees if necessary. Very, very useful hand tool. So that's 100,000 years ago. Now, what must have happened was that the industry was high up in the North Downs, and it's before the last ice age, and after that vast volumes of water must have come from the ice sheets that were nearby, and it scoured the downs, and it washed all these axes and gravel and other debris down into hollows, into valleys where they were found. And this was probably found at a depth of 5 to 20 metres. It's not on the surface at all, deeply buried in gravel. Now the workmen were finding these at such a rate that in fact they used to sell them at Blackheath Market for about £1 each. So if you could go along on a Saturday morning to a Blackheath Market, and there's a workman there standing with a box of these, selling them to whoever wanted them. Fantastic tool, and a very important site, probably the richest Paleolithic hand axe site in the country. We use this for training purposes now, training our students on handling and how in fact these tools are made.